Hello and welcome to my channel. In this video, I will be talking about The Fires of Heaven, Book 5 in the Wheel of Time, continuing the series of videos that I have been doing on the Great Wheel of Time reread we're hosting in the Wizardly Duo Discord. I have had a blast rereading the series. It had been a couple of years since I'd last read it again, and once again doing audio for this go-through, although I might change for next month because I don't know if I'm going to use a credit on New Spring or not. That's neither here nor there. So let's talk about The Fires of Heaven. Now, like I've done in all of these videos, I am going to be just generally talking spoilers. Anything from this book and before this book, I will not be talking any spoilers that happen after this book, though. But so if you've not read Fires of Heaven, I do not recommend that you watch this video because I'm just going to generally be doing a spoiler discussion on it. And with that, let's get started. So this book continues on with what we had set up in The Shadow Rising, where we have the big plot line of Rand in the Aiel Waste, and specifically trying to get all of the Aiel together still, bring them, and to wage war on Samael in Ilium. So we have that going on, but we're starting to spread out our other plots too, and Shadow Rising was the first book where we really start to explore the world out more, and this book is where we're still doing that, but we're spending a lot more time with other POVs. We're introducing some new POVs, and we're spending a lot more time really getting the wider plots going, whereas that main plot line of Rand with the Aiel has slowed down a little bit, although we do still have a couple of different climaxes in this book when we get to it. So we have that going on, and we also have Siuan Sanche, the deposed Amerlin, with Lyanna and Min, who are traveling with Logain, our false dragon, and get into some trouble and are being chased by Gareth Brine, still saying Brine, I won't say Bryn, as they go along. They're trying to find Saladar. We also have Nynaeve and Elaine, who are trying to figure out where to go and to find Saladar, because they hear that Aleda has taken over as the new Amerlin. And so we can see that Saladar is going to be very important. Of course, they later do all end up there at different times. Now, a fun random fact. As I was grabbing the book to do it, I looked at the blurb here, which A, the blurb does not make this sound like a very interesting book, but B, it refers to Aleda as Fleda. It uses an F instead of an E, so I thought that was funny. I wonder if they fixed that after the first edition, but it's just a little tidbit there. So we have those things going on, and we spend quite a lot more time with Elaine and Nynaeve, as well as spending more time with Min and Siuan and kind of going that route, and so seeing really what's going on. We also have the introduction of Valen Luca and his menagerie, which allows us to travel, see some different people. We got a Shan-Chan there and that kind of plot line. I know that's not always a very popular plot line in this book. I've never particularly minded it. I thought it's an interesting way to go forward and see the different parts of the world and kind of add a little bit of complexity in there. Of course, we have Nynaeve and Moghedien, which I think Moghedien is the way that it says it in the audiobooks, which just also feels wrong to me. I'm going to keep, the further I get into these books, I'm going to find more and more things that I apparently still say in my head wrong, so bear with me, it's going to happen. But we get that, and so I think it's a really cool moment with Nynaeve. It gets us with Bridget, who is then expelled from the dream, traveling with them. So that's already a big development because of the fact that this is literally a hero from the Horn. We found out that they basically stay in the world of dreams until they're called again or spun out into the world, but she is pulled out early, and so that's a character which we don't get to know her a ton in this book, but we will more later, and is a character that I really enjoy, so that's always a cool thing. In Nynaeve, with kind of going through trying to fight Moghedien and being like, I'm so great, I beat one of the Forsaken, I'm amazing, and then getting quite a big dish of humble pie and kind of just realizing that she's not maybe the crazy best in the world at literally everything, and so kind of a character defining moment for her. Something we get quite a lot of this, we get more of the kind of the young people, the men, the women, never understand each other. just the battle of the sexes thing, which has always been present. We do get more of it here for a couple of different reasons, but I feel like when you think about a lot of it is the younger characters who are doing it, besides Nynaeve, who I feel like is old enough to know better, but it's just kind of always had, that's her attitude, that's her personality. So she kind of has a moment where she realizes thing. We're seeing the dynamic shift between Egwene and her as well, which is important for Egwene's character, because Egwene's going through a very different path, training with the Wise Ones, which we spend some time there as well. It's just kind of the, this I know, when I was talking to Andrew, he was just saying, man, the Battle of the Sexes stuff was really bad in this book, and I'm like, yeah, it's one of those things that I feel like is somewhat a product of the time. The series was started really in the 90s, but Jordan was kind of putting it through, and I think more, it feels in some ways like it would have been 80s for that kind of thing. Very intentional with some of the frameworks of the world, and so it is one of those things that you get. But we spent a lot of time going through there, setting up more stuff that's going to be happening. We also have Morghese, who we get a POV from as she is trying to figure out what's going on with Lord Gabriel, who is Ravine, and trying to escape there. We start to see the Forsaken really plotting against Rand, trying to figure out what to do, getting ready to work together. We're starting to get introduced to a little bit more of them as they try to trap him and destroy him, and which gets us to our couple of climaxes that we get, which we end with, characters arriving in Saladar, setting up some big things, but we also get the Aiel coming and attacking and just decimating the army of the Shido, who was trying to destroy Cairhien, which is something I do enjoy, the setup of the battle. It's where we start to get to, and we get the introduction of one of my favorite plot lines with Matt, which is the Band of the Red Hand. You don't get a ton of them here either, once again, but it's the introduction, so it's something I always enjoy. And with that plot line, what I'll mention too is, because I know several people mentioned this in Discord and the read-along too, and I get it, because I've never really fully understood the choice, but we do have Couladin, the leader of the Shido, who is killed off-screen by Matt. Now, I think this is just one of those things where Robert Jordan wanted to try something, and it just really didn't work out. And I believe, I don't know specifically what the quote was, but I believe he even later said he was going for something different, and it didn't really work out, and he probably would have done it differently if he could go back. So I'm pretty sure even he acknowledged it didn't come out quite the way he wanted it, with having that be off screen, because that's a pretty big moment. But we do get another Rand Forsaken fight where he's fighting Ravine, which is got quite a lot going on, being aided by Nynaeve, who has in the World of Dreams, has the Adam on Mohidian and uses that to try to help out, which is also cool. We do get some of the interactions in the World of Dreams, I think, that are pretty fun throughout the series as it continues on, and is something that's relevant all throughout. So it's always interesting seeing more of it. We learn more about being in the dream in the flesh, which is how Ravine and Rand are fighting, where they're not sleeping going in, they're traveling into it, which is an interesting development, because the fact that you can actually go physically into the World of Dreams is not something you would necessarily just expect. So that kind of just adds another layer of complexity to an already pretty interesting topic that you can dig into a lot with the World of Dreams. We learn more about what dreamers can do, people who can dream walk as well from the Wise Ones, including finding people's dreams, going into their dreams, speaking to them in their dreams, that kind of thing. And so we get a lot more exploration there as well. As we get to the end here. So this is a book where we still have quite a lot of travel going on, and that's a lot of it. And there's a lot in the series as well with travel. We do get characters who stay in places, but traveling is pretty common in the series. So that's something that you'll definitely see more of here with it. And some of the other climaxes that set up some big things, like the whole fight with Ravine, which is brought on by Rand hearing that Ravine has killed Morghese. Now, we know that that's not true, obviously, because we've seen the POV of Morghese, so you know that she's not dead, but that sets a lot of things into motion there as well. So there's still the big one that I haven't talked about quite yet, which now, if you ever were wondering why people recommend doing New Spring after Book 5, you probably know now if you just read this for the first time. But we do have Moraine, who it appears knew what was going to happen, but sets the line where something that she probably had seen in Roydion when she had went through the glass pillars to see possible futures, where brings Rand down to the docks, and then Lanfear shows up pretty pissed because she found out that Rand slept with Aviendha and doesn't know which one Aviendha is, and so is like going all crazy, and then Moiraine grapples with her and they fall into the redstone doorway, which was used to go to, I can never remember which one's Aelfen, which one's Eolfen, but to go into their land, the one that Matt had gone to in Roydown because they were taking it with. And she knew this was going to happen, and the door melts, making sure there's no pathway and they can't follow, and they are both gone. Definitely a pivotal moment in the series. Moiraine has been a staple since the beginning, of course. She's the character who originally found all of our group from Emond's Field in the Two Rivers, who spent 20 years, along with just her and Siuan, searching for the Dragon Reborn. She's done everything she can to stay near, even knowing her time is going to be coming to a close, swearing that she'll obey Rand, just so that she can stay close and try to continue to help him. So it's a pretty big thing, and we don't get to see a ton of fallout here with that yet, but it definitely is something that quite obviously is going to have some fallout, and so we'll deal with that in the coming books. But very, very large thing. And so New Spring, if you didn't know, is a prequel. It takes place about 20 years before the events of the Eye of the World, and kind of shows Moraine's backstory. And so that's where, after Moraine's killed off, that's when we're like, okay, we'll go read her backstory now. And so that's usually a good time to do it, and that's kind of why that's a general thing that you hear from a lot of people. And so really, really does change a lot. We see Rand, who is now in control of Cairhien. He already has control of Tyr, and he's just wiped out the Forsaken and Caemlyn as well. And some other things happening with some other big announcements as we see Davram Bashir come, who is the general of the people of Saldea under Queen Zenobia. He's the general. He brings 9,000 soldiers down as well, and all but swears Saldea to the Dragon Reborn Rand. Rand also mentioning that he's opening up an amnesty for any male channelers to come to Caemlyn basically and not be persecuted, because he wants to have male channelers. So another really big bombshell there as well. And just the interesting part where we know who Fail is, and that she is the daughter of Davram Bashir the General, because we found that out earlier. But we Rand doesn't know that and everything, so that whole thing as well, just kind of setting up where we're like, oh, I know who you are and what's going on. And so it's very interesting, just with nobody ever thinks that much about the name Bashir, even though she does go by her own last name, but just doesn't specifically bring it up quite a lot otherwise. So a lot of things in this book that are setting up for a lot more to happen in the next book. We've had a ton of things open up for some big events, things moving around, allegiances happening. We also get Asmodean, who is killed in the infamous moment of that where which is so many people. I still remember all of the theorizing around that for so many years. With it too, so with that going on and happening, quite a big thing as well. So a lot of things have changed in this book. It does have some slower parts as we're traveling and we're seeing the characters, but there's a lot of important character moments here, and a lot of just plot lines that are progressing and also setting up for more. This is the part of the series where we're really expanding outward. We're slowing down some plot lines, but also still there's usually always some sort of large climax at the end of any given book, and we're really spreading around, switching off who we see. There also is, of course, the fact that we still have some characters that we don't see a whole heck of a lot from in this book, where we really don't see Perrin anymore. We spent a lot of time with Perrin in The Shadow Rising, but not so much here. We're really focusing more on a different group. That's also something too, I commented that the Dragon Reborn, where you don't see a whole lot of Rand, even though it's called the Dragon Reborn, I feel like sets up for the fact that you will go books where you're not really seeing from different characters. You will get mentions usually, you'll have a little idea of what's going on there, but that just does tend to happen. Sometimes you're focusing on certain plot lines. You're not always going to get to check in with every character, and so that's definitely something you see with this book as well as we shift, and it does continue. We'll focus on different plot lines. Sometimes you'll get less of this character, sometimes you'll get more as well, so there will definitely be more Perrin for the Perrin fans, even though this is a lighter book with Perrin as well. So also something just to be aware of. You will get some of that going on. But so a lot happening in Fires of Heaven, a lot more to happen. That's kind of my rambling take on the book, talking spoilers. I'm sure I left some things out, but I like to do this, the kind of informal talking through the book, talking about specific things that I think are important, or aspects that I enjoy, or aspects that I don't enjoy as well. So a lot happening there. Didn't even mention the Prophet, which is also another big thing, which I do enjoy the little thing where Nynaeve meets with the Prophet. It's like, I need a ship. And then she meets with Galad. It's like, I need a ship. And so you have the Prophet's people and the Children of the Light fighting because they're both trying to get the same ship for Nynaeve, because she's like, oh, maybe I should have told them I had other people working on it and didn't. So there's already a thing that I forgot. But there's definitely this is a book where, like, Shadow Rising, I think, is a stronger book than the Fires of Heaven. But there is still quite a lot of big things happening here, and it sets up a lot more big things to come, certainly, as well. But those are really my thoughts on the Fires of Heaven. We're definitely getting to the point where it'd be harder to catch up if you haven't already joined the buddy read, but feel free to jump in if you haven't. Once again, you can check the link in the description for the Wizardly Do It Discord if you want to join in, see your discussion. Even if you're somebody who's read before, you can definitely jump in and discuss. It's always fun for me to see people reading for the first time, how they react to it. So if you want to do that as well, feel free to jump in also and do that. Make sure to give the video a like if you enjoyed it, and of course, if you enjoy my content, make sure to subscribe.